The alarms shrieked as Captain Maya Ortiz fought to control her plummeting research vessel. The small ship shuddered violently, asteroid debris having torn through its propulsion system. "Computer, analyze crash trajectory." Maya commanded, sweat beading on her dark skin as emergency lights bathed the cockpit in crimson. "Crash imminent on uncharted planet designation XR-7, the synthetic voice responded with inappropriate calm. "Survival probability, 37%. Maya gripped the manual controls. "Better odds than I'd give us," she muttered, steering toward a plateau amidst the alien landscape rushing up to meet her. The impact came with a deafening roar. Maya's restraints cut into her shoulders as the ship skidded across rocky terrain, leaving a trail of scattered components before grinding to a halt. Consciousness returned gradually. Maya blinked at the cracked display: breathable atmosphere, tolerable gravity, extreme temperature fluctuations. She winced, extracting herself from the pilot's seat. A quick self-assessment revealed bruised ribs and a gash along her forearm, but nothing life-threatening. Outside, 3 moons hung low in a lavender sky. The landscape was stark, rocky formations jutting from rust-colored soil, sparse vegetation clinging to life. Maya activated her comm unit. "This is Captain Maya Ortiz of Earth Science Vessel Horizon. Mayday. Crash landed on uncharted planet. Coordinates unknown." She paused, knowing the transmission would likely reach nothing but empty space. 3 days passed in solitude. Maya catalogued her supplies: emergency rations for 60 days, a portable purifier, basic medical equipment. The ship's diagnostic revealed the quantum drive was beyond repair without specialized parts. The backup communication array might be salvageable, but would take weeks of work. On the 4th morning, Maya noticed smoke rising from beyond a distant ridge, artificial, controlled. "Impossible," she whispered. This planet showed no signs of civilization in preliminary scans. Arming herself with a pulse pistol, Maya hiked toward the smoke. 2 hours later, she crested the ridge and froze in disbelief. Below stood a structure clearly not of Earth design, sleek, with curves that seemed to defy architectural logic. Beside it knelt a figure. Not human. Humanoid, yes, but with silver-blue skin that caught the sunlight like polished metal. The being stood at least 7 feet tall, with a slender frame and elongated limbs. Instead of hair, fine tendrils that resembled optical fibers cascaded from its scalp, pulsing with gentle light. Maya's foot dislodged a stone, sending it tumbling downhill. The being spun with startling speed, revealing large, faceted eyes the color of amethyst. For a moment, neither moved. Then the alien spoke, its voice translating through a device on its wrist. "Another survivor. Fascinating. I had calculated the probability of intelligent life encountering this system at less than 0.003%. Maya kept her weapon ready but lowered it slightly. "You speak my language?" "My universal translator analyzes linguistic patterns." The being gestured toward Maya's ship on the distant horizon. "Your vessel appears damaged beyond solo repair capabilities, as is mine." "Who are you?" Maya demanded. "I am Krell, xenobiologist of the Seraphian Science Academy. My research vessel malfunctioned during a stellar cartography mission 8 lunar cycles ago." Krell's head tilted. "You are human. I have studied your species through interstellar data exchanges, though we have never formally established contact." Maya hesitated. "Captain Maya Ortiz, Earth Science Vessel Horizon. We face similar predicaments, Captain Ortiz," Krell said, gesturing to the harsh landscape. "This planet, Erythea in my star charts, experiences extreme seasonal variations. The favorable period ends in approximately 40 solar cycles, after which temperatures will drop beyond your biological tolerance." Maya processed this information. "You're suggesting we cooperate?" It appears to be the optimal survival strategy, Krell responded. My knowledge of local flora and fauna, combined with your different technological approach, increases our probability of survival by an estimated 62%. As if emphasizing the point, the ground trembled slightly beneath them, a mild seismic event that sent loose stones skittering. This planet is geologically unstable, Krell added. Another compelling reason not to face it alone. Maya weighed her options, studying the alien's body language. Despite the physical differences, she recognized scientific curiosity rather than hostility in those strange eyes. My supplies are limited, she said finally. But I have medical equipment, water purification, and emergency rations. I have shelter designed to withstand thermal extremes, botanical knowledge of edible local vegetation, and tools that might assist in repairs. Maya nodded slowly, extending her hand in the universal gesture of agreement. Then it seems we have a partnership, Krell. After a moment's hesitation, the alien extended its six-fingered hand, completing the gesture with surprising gentleness. Indeed, Captain Ortiz. A partnership. Neither could know then how this pragmatic alliance would transform in the days to come, or that their meeting would ultimately change the course of two civilizations. The second moon crested the horizon as Maya hoisted the makeshift solar collector onto the roof of their shelter. Below, Krell was busy configuring a series of crystalline rods, technology Maya still didn't fully understand but had learned to appreciate. Hand me the bonding agent, Maya called down. Krell passed up a container of viscous blue gel, their fingers briefly touching. After 2 weeks of working together, such contact no longer felt alien. The atmospheric density is increasing, Krell noted, faceted eyes scanning the darkening sky. We have approximately 3 days before the first storm arrives. Maya secured the collector with a final application of the gel. Will this hold? Affirmative. The molecular structure adapts to thermal variations. Your engineering solution was innovative. Maya smiled. From Krell, this was high praise. The Seraphian scientist approached problems with methodical precision, while Maya relied more on intuition and adaptability. Their differences had proven complementary. Their shelter, a hybrid structure combining Krell's ship components with materials Maya had salvaged, stood nestled against a cliff face, protected from the prevailing winds. Inside, they had created separate living quarters connected to a common area where they worked on communications equipment. That evening, they inventoried their food supplies. Maya's rations were dwindling, but Krell had identified several edible plant species and taught Maya which were safe for human consumption. These root vegetables contain proteins compatible with your digestive system, Krell explained, slicing a purple tuber. Though I recommend cooking them to neutralize the alkaloids. Maya nodded, kindling a small fire in their improvised stove. In return, I'll show you how humans prepare food. We call it cooking. An unnecessary expenditure of energy, Krell observed, but watched with interest as Maya combined ingredients. Food isn't just about survival for us, Maya explained. It's cultural. Social. Fascinating. Seraphians evolved beyond such biological preferences. Must be lonely, Maya said without thinking. Krell tilted their head, optical tendrils shifting color slightly. Loneliness is a concept I have only recently begun to comprehend. The honesty in this admission created a moment of connection that transcended their biological differences. The storm arrived earlier than expected. Wind howled against their shelter, carrying abrasive particles that scratched at the exterior. Inside, temperature regulators strained to compensate. The power cells are depleting faster than calculated, Krell reported, monitoring their energy reserves. We must conserve heat. Maya nodded, already gathering their thermal blankets. On Earth, in survival situations, we share body heat. Krell's expression was unreadable, but after a moment of consideration, they nodded. A logical solution. They arranged their sleeping areas side by side. Maya hesitated briefly before lying down next to the Seraphian. Krell's body radiated a gentle warmth, higher than human temperature, and emitted a subtle scent reminiscent of ozone after rainfall. "Your cardiac rhythm has accelerated," Krell observed. Maya laughed softly. "Humans get nervous in new situations. Should I move away?" "No," Maya said, surprising herself. "This is fine." As the storm raged, they talked, really talked, for the first time. Maya described Earth's oceans, forests, and cities. Krell spoke of Seraphia's crystal spires and the vast knowledge networks where their people shared consciousness without losing individuality. "Do you miss it?" Maya asked. "Your home?" Krell was silent for a long moment. "I was designed for solo exploration. Extended separation was anticipated." "That's not what I asked." Krell's tendrils pulsed softly. "Yes. I experience absence. An awareness of disconnection." Maya understood. Though their circumstances differed, they shared the pain of isolation. The storm lasted 3 days. When it finally subsided, something had shifted between them. They worked with new synchronicity, anticipating each other's needs and movements. One morning, while checking the perimeter sensors, Maya encountered a predator, a 6-limbed creature with razor-sharp appendages. Before she could react, Krell appeared beside her, deploying a sonic deterrent that sent the creature fleeing. "You have quick reflexes for a scientist," Maya noted, heart still racing. "Your safety is essential to our mutual survival," Krell replied simply. Yet Maya had seen the flash of alarm in those alien eyes, concern beyond mere pragmatism. Their work on the communications array progressed steadily. Using components from both ships, they constructed a transmitter powerful enough to potentially reach passing vessels. The task required delicate calibration, their hands working in tandem, sometimes touching. Each touch lingered a little longer than necessary. One evening, as Erethia's largest moon cast blue light across the landscape, Maya found Krell standing outside, gazing upward. "Star watching?" she asked, joining them. "Calculating our position relative to known space," Krell replied, then added more softly, "and yes, observing the stars." Maya looked up at the unfamiliar constellations. "When I was little, humans believed stars were the souls of ancestors watching over us." A poetic conceptualization, Krell noted. Seraphians view celestial bodies as nodes in the universal consciousness, points where energy transforms and information flows. "Not so different, really," Maya said, moving slightly closer. "Both ideas connect us to something larger." Krell turned to face her, their features illuminated by moonlight. "I have been studying human physiology and behavioral patterns." "Oh?" Maya raised an eyebrow. "Scientific curiosity?" "Initial observation suggests our species share certain, compatible attributes despite obvious biological differences." Maya felt heat rise to her cheeks. "That's quite an observation. Have I misinterpreted the signals?" Krell asked with genuine uncertainty. Maya took a deep breath. "No. You haven't." Their first touch, intentional, exploratory, sent an electric current through Maya's body. Krell's skin was smoother than it appeared, warm and slightly luminescent at contact. "The storm season approaches," Krell whispered. "We will be confined together for many cycles." "Then we should make the most of our time," Maya replied, reaching up to trace the curve of Krell's face. As the distant thunder of the coming storm season rumbled beyond the horizon, they moved inside, crossing a threshold neither had anticipated when they first encountered each other on this desolate world. The storm season transformed Erethia into a world of primal fury. Wind shrieked across the landscape, carrying particles that scoured stone and metal alike. Lightning split the purple sky in jagged patterns, illuminating the cave system where Maya and Krell had relocated their essential equipment. Their primary shelter had withstood the first storms, but Krell's atmospheric readings predicted worse to come. The natural caverns, while less comfortable, offered superior protection. The decision had been practical, yet the intimate confines intensified their evolving relationship. "The resonance frequency is still off," Maya muttered, adjusting the communications array they'd salvaged. Her fingers, once nimble, felt clumsy today. She'd been experiencing waves of fatigue for the past week. Krell moved behind her, placing long, elegant fingers over hers. "Allow me. Your body temperature is elevated again." Maya leaned back against Krell's chest, allowing herself a moment of vulnerability. "Just tired. These storms mess with my sleep cycle." "You require additional rest," Krell insisted, guiding her away from the equipment. Their living space was simple but functional, bedding made from thermal materials, storage containers for food and equipment, and a small heating unit that cast a warm glow throughout the cave. "I'm fine," Maya protested weakly, though she didn't resist when Krell urged her to lie down. Their physical relationship had developed gradually over the past weeks, a cautious exploration of anatomical differences and surprising similarities. What began as scientific curiosity had deepened into genuine affection and desire. Maya had discovered that Krell's optical tendrils were highly sensitive, responding to touch with pulses of luminescence. Krell, in turn, had learned the contours of Maya's body with reverent attention. "Your physiological patterns have altered," Krell observed, running a diagnostic wand over Maya's form. The device was Seraphian medical technology, one of the few tools that had survived intact. Maya closed her eyes. "Humans get sick sometimes. It'll pass." Krell's brow furrowed in the expression they had adopted from Maya. "These readings are inconsistent with pathogenic infection." They adjusted the device, scanned again, then froze. "What is it?" Maya asked, alarmed by Krell's sudden stillness. "Impossible," Krell whispered, faceted eyes widening. "The scanner must be malfunctioning." Maya sat up. "Krell, you're scaring me." "What's wrong?" Krell's tendrils pulsed rapidly, a sign of intense emotion Maya had come to recognize. "According to these readings, you are gestating." "I'm what?" Maya stared at the Seraphian. "Pregnant," Krell clarified, using the human term. "With a hybrid embryo." The cave seemed to spin around Maya. "That's not possible. We're different species from different worlds." "Agreed. The probability approaches zero." Krell ran the scan again. "Yet the readings are consistent. There is cellular division occurring within your reproductive system, cells containing both human and Seraphian genetic markers." Maya placed a hand on her abdomen, feeling nothing different yet everything changed. "How?" "Unknown," Krell admitted. Seraphian reproduction typically requires genetic synchronization, a conscious blending of DNA patterns. Perhaps something in our biochemical exchange triggered an analogous process in your system. The implications washed over Maya in waves. She had come to this planet a solitary explorer and now carried what could be the first cross-species child in known history. "Are you distressed?" Krell asked, their voice unusually hesitant. Maya looked up at her alien companion, seeing concern in those otherworldly eyes. "I'm overwhelmed. Scared. But not." She searched for the right word. "Not unhappy." Krell knelt beside her, placing a six-fingered hand gently over hers. "I have studied hundreds of species across various star systems, but never encountered anything like this. We are venturing into unknown territory." "Story of our lives lately," Maya said with a weak smile. Outside, thunder crashed as the storm intensified. Inside, a different kind of tempest was brewing, one of uncertainty, wonder, and possibility. That night, as rain lashed the cave entrance, they lay entwined on their shared bedding. Maya guided Krell's hand to her abdomen. "What do you think it will be like? This child of two worlds?" Krell's touch was reverent. "Unique. Unprecedented. A living bridge between our species. Will it survive?" Maya voiced her deepest fear. "I will ensure it does," Krell promised, the usual clinical detachment gone from their voice. "I have transmitted data packets to the beacon we established. If any Seraphian vessel intercepts them, medical specialists could be contacted." The likelihood of rescue remained remote, but the possibility offered comfort. As days blended into weeks, Maya's body began to change. Morning sickness gave way to unusual cravings for minerals Krell had to carefully extract from Erythea's soil. Her dreams became vivid, sometimes including images she recognized from Krell's descriptions of Seraphia. Krell documented everything with scientific precision but also with growing tenderness. They fashioned specialized nutrients from local plants, combining them with supplements from Maya's medical kit. During one particularly violent storm, when electricity seemed to saturate the very air, Maya woke to find Krell's tendrils glowing intensely, synchronized with the lightning outside. "What's happening?" she asked, reaching for them. "Energetic resonance," Krell explained, their voice strangely modulated. "The atmospheric conditions are similar to Seraphian mating seasons." They hesitated. "I find myself experiencing heightened connection to you and our developing offspring." Maya smiled, pulling Krell closer. "On Earth, we just say you're feeling paternal." Their lovemaking that night transcended physical pleasure. Maya felt as though they were communicating on a cellular level, energy flowing between them in currents that matched the storm's intensity. When climax came, it was accompanied by a sensation of merging consciousness, brief but profound. Afterward, lying in Krell's arms, Maya whispered, "I felt you. Not just your body, but you." "Psychokinetic resonance," Krell murmured. "Theoretically possible between bonded Seraphians, but never documented with other species." Their tendrils stroked Maya's hair with gentle affection. "Our child may possess abilities neither of our species fully comprehends." As the storm season began to wane, they took stock of their situation. The communications array had been completed but yielded no response. Maya's pregnancy had progressed to visible evidence, a small but distinct curve where their child grew. Krell had become protective, insisting on performing the more strenuous tasks. Maya found this both endearing and frustrating. "I'm pregnant, not incapacitated," she reminded them one morning as they prepared to return to their primary shelter. "Caution is warranted with unprecedented biological developments," Krell replied, but their expression softened at Maya's stern look. "I acknowledge my behavior may be influenced by emotional factors rather than purely logical assessment." Maya laughed, kissing them lightly. "That might be the most romantic thing you've ever said to me." As they emerged from the caves into Erythea's muted sunlight, the landscape had been transformed. New growth stretched toward the sky where before there had been only barren rock, evidence of the planet's resilience. Standing together on the threshold between shelter and sky, between what had been and what might be, Maya and Krell faced an uncertain future with the one certainty they had found in each other. "Ready?" Krell asked, offering a hand. Maya placed her hand in theirs, her other hand resting protectively over their growing child. "Ready." The communication array emitted a soft, rhythmic pulse as Maya made final adjustments to the transmitter. Her movements were slower now, deliberate, accommodating the prominent swell of her abdomen. 6 months into her pregnancy, the reality of their situation weighed on her as heavily as the child she carried. Energy output increased by 7%, Krell reported, monitoring the readings. The signal should now reach the outer boundary of this star system. Maya nodded, wiping sweat from her brow. Erythea's twin suns blazed overhead, the storm season having given way to a period of intense heat. "If anyone's listening," They had re-established their main camp after the storms passed, expanding it with materials from both their vessels. What had begun as a temporary shelter had evolved into something resembling a home, a hybrid structure reflecting its inhabitants. Krell approached, offering a container of purified water infused with minerals. "Your hydration levels are suboptimal." Maya accepted gratefully. "Your bedside manner has improved," she teased, though she appreciated Krell's vigilant care. The pregnancy had progressed unlike any documented in human medical history. The fetus developed more rapidly than a human child would, yet more slowly than Seraphian offspring. Krell had fashioned a modified scanner that allowed them to monitor its development, revealing a being with characteristics of both species. "The skeletal structure is primarily human," Krell had explained during one examination, "but the neural pathways show Seraphian patterns." And here, they had pointed to a cluster of cells along the developing spine, energy conduits similar to those that feed my optical tendrils. That evening, as Erythea's moons rose in sequence, Maya experienced the first contractions. "Something's happening," she gasped, clutching the edge of their shared sleeping platform. Krell was instantly alert, scanner in hand. "The child is initiating the birth sequence prematurely. Or right on time for a hybrid," Maya suggested through gritted teeth. "We can't exactly check the medical textbook on this one." For the first time since Maya had known them, Krell displayed visible anxiety. "I have only theoretical knowledge of human birthing procedures." Maya grabbed their hand. "Then we figure it out together. Like everything else on this planet." The labor progressed with merciful speed. Krell prepared their medical supplies, transforming their living space into a makeshift delivery room. Despite their lack of obstetric experience, Seraphian precision and calm efficiency proved invaluable. As the largest moon reached its zenith, casting silver light through the shelter's skylight, Maya gave a final push and their child entered the world with a cry that seemed to resonate on frequencies beyond human hearing. "A daughter," Krell announced, voice thick with emotion as they cradled the newborn with astonishing gentleness. The infant was extraordinary, human in overall appearance but with skin bearing a subtle silvery blue luminescence. Fine, hair-like tendrils extended from her scalp, pulsing with soft light. Her eyes, when they opened briefly, revealed faceted irises that caught the moonlight like prisms. "She's beautiful," Maya whispered as Krell placed the child in her arms. "She requires a designation," Krell said, sitting beside them. Maya studied their daughter's face. "On Earth, names often carry meaning. What about Elara?" "It means, shining light in an ancient language." "Elara," Krell repeated, tendrils brightening. In Seraphian tradition, offspring receive a secondary designation reflecting their origin or purpose. They touched the infant's cheek with a six-fingered hand. "Perhaps Elara Novastella, new star." "Elara Novastella," Maya agreed. "Perfect for the first of her kind." The weeks following Elara's birth brought new challenges and discoveries. The infant displayed remarkable adaptability, thriving on a diet Krell formulated from both human supplements and local resources. Her development accelerated beyond human norms. She held her head up within days and tracked movement with alert, intelligent eyes. More extraordinary were the abilities that began to manifest. Objects sometimes moved in her presence, responding to her emotions. Her tendrils would synchronize with Krell's during their interactions, suggesting a form of communication beyond verbal language. "She appears to possess heightened psychokinetic sensitivity," Krell observed one evening as Elara manipulated a small toy they had crafted, seemingly without touching it. "Will she be able to function in either of our societies?" Maya voiced the concern that had been growing as Elara's uniqueness became more apparent. Krell considered this thoughtfully. "She represents evolutionary advancement rather than limitation. Both our species could learn from her capabilities." Their domestic routine had settled into comfortable patterns. Krell continued monitoring their communications array while Maya documented Erythea's ecosystem, creating detailed records of their experiences. Together, they maintained the shelter and cared for Elara, whose presence had transformed their pragmatic partnership into something deeper. One night, as they sat outside watching meteor showers streak across Erythea's sky, Maya turned to Krell. "When we first crashed here, all I wanted was rescue. Now you experience ambivalence regarding potential contact," Krell finished, understanding without explanation. Maya nodded, watching Elara sleep peacefully between them. "What happens to us, to her, if we're found? By your people, or mine?" Krell's expression grew solemn. "Unknown variables exist in either scenario. Neither of our societies has protocols for our situation." "That's a diplomatic way of saying they might separate us," Maya said quietly. "Study her like a specimen." Krell's tendrils darkened, a sign of distress Maya had learned to recognize. "I would not permit such treatment of our offspring." The fierce protectiveness in Krell's voice reassured Maya. Whatever challenges awaited, they would face them together. The following morning, as Maya was teaching Elara to identify edible plants, their communication array activated with an unfamiliar tone. "Incoming transmission," Krell called from the shelter. Maya hurried inside, Elara in her arms. Krell was already adjusting the receiver, faceted eyes wide with surprise. "Origin?" Maya asked, heart racing. "Seraphian long-range scout vessel," Krell replied, voice carefully controlled. "They detected our beacon." The implications hung between them. After nearly a year of isolation, contact had been established. Rescue, or intervention, was now a possibility. "What did you tell them?" Maya asked, instinctively holding Elara closer. "Minimal information. Research mission status. Request for extraction." Krell met Maya's gaze. "I did not disclose your presence or Elara's existence." Maya nodded, understanding the caution. "How long?" Their current trajectory would bring them to Erythea in approximately 14 solar cycles. 2 weeks. After so much time alone, it seemed impossibly soon. That night, neither slept. They discussed options, scenarios, contingencies. By dawn, they had reached a decision. "We present ourselves as a family unit," Maya stated firmly. "Non-negotiable." "Agreed," Krell said. "I will invoke Seraphian scientific protection protocols for unique biological discoveries." Maya smiled wryly. "Is that what we are? A biological discovery?" Krell touched her face with tender precision. "You and Elara are far more. You are my chosen family, a concept I had no framework for before you." As the days counted down, they prepared, physically and psychologically, for contact. Maya repaired her uniform, determined to present herself as a captain rather than a castaway. Krell transmitted carefully worded updates to the approaching vessel, establishing professional authority. Together, they documented everything: their research, their survival methods, and most importantly, Elara's development and abilities. Knowledge would be their shield and their bargaining power. On the morning of expected contact, they stood together outside their shelter, watching the sky. Elara, now remarkably advanced for her age, sensed the significance of the moment, her tendrils pulsing with bright energy. "Whatever happens," Maya said, taking Krell's hand, "remember that what we found here was worth everything." Krell's response was interrupted by a distant roar as a ship breached Erythea's atmosphere, descending toward them in a controlled trajectory. The future had arrived, carrying with it both promise and uncertainty. The Seraphian vessel hovered above the plateau, sleek and imposing against Erythea's lavender sky. Its design was more advanced than Krell's research ship, clearly a military-class scout rather than scientific equipment. "Stay behind me," Krell instructed as the ship's landing mechanisms deployed. Their tendrils had shifted to a deep indigo, a color Maya had never seen before. "Is that worry I detect in your voice?" Maya asked, adjusting Elara in her arms. The child was unusually quiet, her own tendrils pulsing in rhythm with Krell's. "Precaution," Krell replied. "Seraphian protocol for unexpected encounters can be rigid." The ship settled on the rocky terrain with barely a sound. A moment later, a portal spiraled open, and 3 tall figures emerged. Like Krell, they possessed the characteristic silver-blue skin and optical tendrils, but their bearing was distinctly military, precise movements and scanning eyes that assessed potential threats. The leader stepped forward, tendrils glowing in what Maya recognized as a formal greeting pattern. Words followed, in the musical Seraphian language Maya had begun to learn during their time together. Krell responded in the same tongue, posture straightening to match the formal exchange. After several minutes of conversation that Maya could only partially understand, Krell switched to her language. "Captain Ortiz, may I present Commander Thelix of the Seraphian Exploration Fleet?" Maya stepped forward, chin raised. "Commander. Thank you for responding to our beacon." The commander's faceted eyes widened slightly at the sight of Elara. "This is unexpected," they said, translator device converting their words. Xenobiologist Krell did not report the presence of a human female or. They paused, clearly searching for appropriate terminology. "My daughter," Maya supplied firmly. Commander Thelix's gaze shifted between the 3 of them, comprehension dawning. "Impossible," they murmured. "Demonstrably not," Krell countered. "As I was explaining, Commander, our circumstances have created a unique scientific opportunity. The child represents unprecedented genetic compatibility between our species." The other 2 Seraphians had moved closer, scanning devices activated. One reached toward Elara with evident scientific curiosity. Maya stepped back instinctively. Elara, sensing her mother's tension, emitted a soft pulse of energy that momentarily disrupted the Seraphian's scanning equipment. "Remarkable," the second officer commented. "Psychokinetic ability at such an early development stage." Commander Thelix raised a hand, halting their advance. "This situation requires consultation with the Science Directorate. We were dispatched to retrieve a lost researcher, not to address an interspecies event of this magnitude." "We come as a unit," Krell stated unequivocally. "This is non-negotiable." The commander's tendrils flickered with what Maya had learned to recognize as surprise. "Your extended isolation appears to have affected your adherence to protocol, Scientist Krell." "My experiences have expanded my understanding," Krell corrected. "Captain Ortiz and I have compiled extensive research data on our coexistence and on Elara's development. The scientific value alone merits special consideration." Maya stepped forward, professional diplomat now rather than stranded survivor. "Commander, I represent Earth's scientific core. My people would consider any separation of our family to be a hostile act. Surely our species can find a more productive first contact scenario." Mention of official Earth connections gave the commander pause. Interstellar diplomacy, even for the advanced Seraphians, was delicate territory. "We have prepared comprehensive documentation," Maya continued, gesturing toward their shelter. "Before making any decisions, I suggest you review our findings." The commander considered this, then nodded. "A reasonable request." The next several hours unfolded in tense negotiation. The Seraphians reviewed their research, examined Elara from a respectful distance, and conducted lengthy communications with their homeworld. Maya and Krell presented a united front, emphasizing both the scientific importance of their situation and the emotional bonds that had formed. "The Directorate has authorized your return," Commander Thelix finally announced. "All 3 of you." Maya felt relief wash over her, but remained cautious. "Under what conditions?" "Initially, a period of observation and medical assessment at our outer system research station. Your Earth authorities will be contacted through established diplomatic channels. And then? Krell pressed. The commander's expression softened slightly. That remains to be determined. Your case is unprecedented. But the Directorate recognizes its significance, both scientifically and symbolically. Maya exchanged glances with Krell. It wasn't everything they had hoped for, but it was a beginning. They were given 1 day to prepare for departure. As they gathered their essential belongings and research materials, Maya felt a strange reluctance to leave Erythea, this harsh world that had become the birthplace of their extraordinary connection. We will return someday, Krell promised, sensing her thoughts as they often did now. Erythea holds scientific value beyond our personal history here. Maya smiled, watching Alara explore the shelter one last time, her movements already showing the grace of her Seraphian heritage combined with human curiosity. She should know where she came from. That night, their last on Erythea, they stood outside beneath the 3 moons. The landscape that had once seemed alien and hostile now felt familiar, almost beloved. What do you think will happen? Maya asked, leaning against Krell's tall form. Really? Krell was silent for a moment, tendrils gently entwining with Maya's hair in the intimate gesture they had developed. Initial scientific interest will be intense. Political complications are probable. But historical precedent suggests that meaningful connections between species ultimately prevail over institutional resistance. Maya laughed softly. That's your version of optimism, isn't it? It is my analysis of probability filtered through my preference for our continued unity, Krell replied, then added more simply, yes. Alara, sensing the emotional resonance between her parents, reached up with small hands. Her tendrils glowed with contentment as they both lifted her between them. Whatever awaits us, Krell said, Alara represents possibility, evidence that differences need not be barriers. The following morning, as they boarded the Seraphian vessel, Maya took one last look at the planet that had forced them together and then made them choose each other. The rust-colored landscape stretched toward the horizon, silent witness to their extraordinary journey. Commander Thelix approached as the boarding ramp prepared to close. Your story will change many preconceptions among my people, they said quietly. And mine, Maya acknowledged. There is an ancient Seraphian concept, the commander continued, rarely referenced in modern times. Neavan, the belief that the universe sometimes creates convergence points where separate evolutionary paths are meant to intersect. Maya glanced at Krell and Alara, waiting for her inside the ship. Not so different from human concepts of destiny. Indeed. The commander's expression held something new, respect, perhaps even a hint of wonder. Safe journey, Captain Ortiz. Your family opens a new chapter in our shared cosmic history. As the ship lifted from Erythea's surface, Maya took her place beside Krell, their daughter secure between them. Through the viewport, the planet grew smaller, a diminishing sphere of rust and purple that had forever altered the trajectory of 2 civilizations. New horizons, Krell murmured, one hand on the viewport, the other entwined with Maya's. Together, Maya replied, as Alara's tendrils glowed in harmonious agreement. Behind them, Erythea receded into the vastness of space, no longer a place of exile but the cradle of an unprecedented beginning.